Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners, and come on our platform willing to share those skills and experiences with us. So thank you very much for spending some time with me, for spending some time with the audience and being able to share a little bit about what you do and what you're good at. I can say that the first conversation that we had on the phone was very eye-opening to me about the power of some of the things that we're going to discuss today and the efficacy of implementing those things in your business. And I look forward to kind of trying those things on for size as we get into 2026. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what it is that you do?
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Bailey. I appreciate it. My name's Candyce Edelen, and I run Propel Growth. And I am really, really focused on building visibility, helping companies to create the visibility that builds trust in the market, because I believe that visibility and sharing your story online can help to build trust, and it's trust that drives sales. People, especially in B2B, people tend to buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And I think that trust is far important, more important than liking even. So that's what we're about.
Nice. And tell me a little bit of a story. And I'll give you a little bit of my perspective to precede your story. When we're talking about visibility and we're talking about trust, I think that it's easy to apply those things one scenario at a time,
Mhm.
one instance at a time, one sales call at a time, one marketing effort at a time. I think that what we don't realize is how much these things play into the success or lack thereof of our business as you apply those same instances over a longer period of time to more data, that maybe we aren't maximizing those things and that it plays into those scenarios a lot more frequently than we realize. So tell me a little bit about your background and kind of that aha moment for you and your story, because I think that you have a really, really cool story that kind of proves your own concept to the value that you bring to some of the people that you work with.
Okay, I'm going to go back a little ways, because that visibility and credibility has played into my business background for a long time. I started out in sales training, actually, and working with companies to help them to more effectively leverage solution selling techniques to sell technology back in the 90s. And then I started I actually joined a company that was just getting started. I joined as a co-founder in the electronic trading space. And my co-founder was pretty well known in the industry. And we really leveraged his reputation. He was affectionately called the biggest brain on Wall Street. And it would open doors. And that was pre LinkedIn, pre Twitter, things like that that we were building. And then he and I started another business in 2005, and I started leveraging blogging back then. And LinkedIn kind of came into the scene for me around 2007 when I started Propel Growth, although I think I did have a presence on there even before that. But I started seeing early on the value of using content to tell a story and to try to help people understand um, really complex technology and explain it in a way that they had an aha moment. And I learned that from having my own aha moment. We were trying to build this technology that allowed trading platforms to speak to each other. And I wasn't a technologist myself. I'm the one that leads the commercial side of the business. And I was really struggling to articulate what it was that we were doing, and to spell out the value proposition, because I was using too much vendor speak and not enough customer speak. And I finally sat down with one of our customers, and she explained to me how they use it and why and what it does. And she blurted out, like, it's about normalization. And then we started realizing it's like this kind of universal translator. Ultimately, it became a Zapier in the financial services space, but we didn't have Zapier to compare it to then. Um, so I realized then that using the customer's language to explain things was really important. And so leveraging visibility, leveraging storytelling, and leveraging what the clients are saying and their language all became very integral to building businesses. So I've started and built 5 companies, Propel Growth being the most recent and longest lasting. I started Propel Growth in 2007. And throughout that whole process with Propel Growth, I've really helped companies figure out a go-to-market strategy that leverages their visibility, their credibility, their authority in the marketplace, and how the customers are asking questions and the way the customers articulate value propositions to get the message across and take it to market. And over the course of Propel Growth, we've helped 13 companies get acquired. So we've had some pretty good success with building the level of visibility that not only draws clients but also makes them an acquisition target over time.
Sure. And talk to me a little bit about the value, right? I know that we like what you just said about the 13 companies you've worked with being acquired makes a lot of sense to me at kind of the finish line, right? Like it makes sense to me at the end of the picture, the credits of the movie. When you're working with these companies while they're still in their growth phase, or they're still in their day-to-day, or they're trying to really pinpoint these processes that bring a lot of value to them and how they spend their time, what was the value to working with or of working with Propel Growth in that moment? Was it the majority of what they were doing? Was it a building block in the grand scheme of marketing things? Like, kind of how did you position what you were doing, and how consultative on some of the other practices that those people were using to get out there in the world? How much time were you spending talking about those things?
So, what I was doing and what I do now are different. But what I was doing was really, if you're going to sell to anybody, that person that's buying or that company, the people, because a company is made up of people who buy, need to understand the value of what it is that you're selling. They need to understand what it is, why it is, what problem in their world it helps solve, what the outcome of solving that problem would be. And of course, the problem itself needs to be urgent enough to solve now. And they have to have a vision of what the outcome of is it worth solving, and is it worth solving this way. And I've always worked with complex technology that doesn't have a real obvious, oh, well, I get this. It's like, oh, like Shutterstock or something like that. It's very obvious. Oh, there's pictures here. I can go buy these pictures or I can sell these pictures if I'm the creator. Um, our stuff was much more esoteric, and all the clients that I've ever worked with have more esoteric offerings with where they're like we work with a lot of ERP vendors, and ERP, yes, it has a front end, but like how it's going to help the business is what's important, not about how you interface with it, but how much is it going to fix our workflows or work with our workflows and make us more efficient, make us not lose time. How is it going to save us from having fewer errors in the way that we're doing our billing? Whatever it is, you've got to really um, have the conversations with the clients to understand how they articulate the business problems and then express your value proposition in the way that is going to make sense to them.
Sure.
And then you got to get it out there where they come across it so that they reach out to you. And you've got your salespeople have to be able to articulate that value proposition in a way so that if you create your funnel, you've got people coming in saying, I need this, I have this problem. So you've got to build problem awareness. You've got to build how do we solve it, solution awareness, and then you've got to make sure that the salespeople are able to articulate it in a way that works with the customer in their buying cycle. So by the time they're willing to talk to a salesperson, they don't want to sit there and do that really high level discovery. They've already
Right.
figured that out. They need the salesperson to walk with them where they are now.
Sure. And I think a good analogy for this is like we've kind of talked for what we're talking about right now. We've kind of talked about what it means for when those companies get to the finish line. We've kind of talked about the value in the midterm, and we've kind of identified where people are when they start. But let's talk about the vehicle, right? This is, I think, one of the intricate things, and maybe some of you that are listening have thought about some of this stuff before. Like maybe you've told yourself, oh, I really need to increase my visibility. I need to increase my credibility, or maybe it's a timing thing. Like I need to reach these people that I'm trying to reach at the right time with the right content so that the pace of the deal makes sense. I need to learn how to speak the way my customers hear and not the way my vendors or my technology speaks about itself. But what does that actually look like? And I know that there's a little bit of a twofold approach here where it's not only going and grabbing information from LinkedIn, like there's also some feeding of the machine, some putting content out there that makes sense, interacting with other people. So what does the actual process look like for people that are like, okay, I've identified that this is something that I need to do, and I understand now how my customers need to feel about me to give myself the highest probability of being successful. But what if you're like me and you go, I don't exactly know where to start?
Right, right. So, okay, LinkedIn is the for B2B, it's probably one of the best, if not the best, places online to build that visibility, and equally important is credibility. So I look at it as you have visibility, credibility, and then you become a recognized authority in a space, and that is what builds the trust that makes a customer go, oh, okay, this is the company I want to buy from. And all of those need to be happening and continuously. And it's LinkedIn is not the only place. So you probably also should be speaking at conferences, and you should be blogging. And if there are third-party platforms like in the ERP space, for example, especially in the Microsoft Dynamics space, there's a couple of blogs that are really well known, the ERP software blog and the CRM software blog. Blogging there, in addition to your own site and sharing content on LinkedIn, those are ways that you start getting found, and that's your top of your funnel. You need to be findable, you need to be visible, but also the kinds of content that you're sharing on those platforms needs to help to build your credibility in the space. So it's not just about buy my stuff. It's about sharing the stories of customers that are what they're going through, sharing your own business, and talking not just about success stories. To your point, I mentioned exits, and you're like, yeah, well, wait a minute. Tell me more about the messy middle. Because there's point A and there's point Z. I've got to get from point A to point Z, and I'm like over here at B. Don't tell me about Z, tell me about B and C and D. And our customers need to know that too. And so I talk a lot about the value of sharing the messy middle. And if you can talk about those themes, for example, in you guys' case, you're doing a lot around payments. And the more that you can talk about the messy middle of helping companies work through um, the problems around different types of payment solutions and how they um, move from the messy side over to something that's a more smooth processing. Like right now, I'm in the messy middle of, I had switched kind of the way that I'm accepting payments, and I've got a lot of late pays. And so my messy middle is how are we going to solve this problem? And as the customer, how do I solve the problem of getting people to pay consistently on time? And I moved from taking everything via credit card. I wanted to try to cut my card processing costs. So I moved everybody to ACH. That turns out to be a messier process. So maybe you talk about the messiness of it, why somebody would switch, the messiness, and then what the solution is on the other side, and take people kind of through a flow so that they see themselves in that flow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
I've seen a lot of companies just do a stellar job of that. Adam Robinson is one that comes to mind, that as a CEO, he's been sharing not just the benefit that his clients are getting, but also the messy middle that he's experiencing in building a business. And he's very transparent about his growth, and that has skyrocketed the inbound that is coming to his business because he's been so transparent about sharing his own messy middle.
Yes, that makes a ton of sense to me. And I'll tell you to expound on that a little bit from my own personal experience. One of the things that I think like marketing in my industry is difficult because most of my industry has a hard time outlining like a strategic advantage that they have over the market versus other people, right?
Yes.
I think that that is really where your brain goes of like your brain is used to ingesting advertising, right? It's used to here's the deal of the day, here's the 50% off, here's your BOGO, or it's here is why our product is so much better and different than all the other competitors in my market. I think the thing that makes like scratches the right part of my brain about this is that we're not tackling the how do I show the world how much better I am than XYZ competitor, or how do I show my value versus another product, but it's that in reality, when people find me and I do get the occasional inbound sales opportunity, it's because another company has represented those same set of ideals and not been able to fulfill them the way that they explained them to that customer. And what they're looking for from me is that one, am I visible? Am I okay with being out there in the world because I'm okay with people talking about me? And am I credible? Like, are people having good experiences with me? Are we helping deliver the experience and the value to the customers that we're talking about? Like, that stuff is so important to me because I've found that it's much more valuable for me to talk about, hey, I understand where you are. I have helped people just like you go from point A to point Z. And the good thing about me is that messy middle is kind of where I thrive when it's in your scenario, right? Like trying to figure out how we're going to make this thing go from a mess to something that's an actual asset to your business is something that we're really good at because at the end of the day, your business working well makes our job easier, right? So
Right.
that is what I think is so cool about the way that you approach these things is because you're never going to just take me at my word that I am good at my job. When I started in this industry, I was 19 years old. People weren't trusting their payment processing with 19-year-olds. It's not a normal thing. Like your 19-year-old is supposed to be cutting your grass at your house, not like replacing your credit card processing machine or finding tens of thousands of dollars when it disappears into thin air. So
Right.
it's a very unique thing. And the way that I approached some of that stuff was a very tie my shoes tight and go out there in the world and speak to people so that I build that visibility and credibility. And then when COVID happened was like the first time that it was ever relevant for my industry to be on the internet. Really, it was the first time that we ever needed to show people, hey, you're in Washington and I'm in Atlanta and I want to do some research on you. Like, you don't put content out there. I don't see you. You have 4 followers on your company page. Like, that was a hindrance to me when people were going about trying to establish that feeling of trusting myself and my company, even though we had been in this industry for 20 years and I had been doing it for 5 years at this point. So that is what I think. And the reason that we want to apply some of that same strategy to what we do is because our visibility and credibility only stretches as far as I can yell or I can walk at this point, or I can drive, right? I think that is what is so unique. So tell me this, what has kind of been your superpower, right? Like, I think that trying to figure out how to break all of these things down in layman's terms is one thing, but trying to understand both the selling journey and the buying journey from these different industries that you've worked with is a really unique thing, right? I think that so many people talk about niching down and being very specific in the people that you work with. And I think that you look at this thing as a very holistic issue that's recursive in a lot of industries. So what has kind of been that thing for you? What do you feel that you attribute a lot of this ability to learn and understand and be successful in this space comes from?
I was just listening to a podcast today where Kyle Lacey is talking about the idea that there's nothing new in the world. That comes out of Ecclesiastes,
Sure.
right? It's like so old it's in the Bible. There's nothing new in the
Nothing
world.
new under the
And
sun. That's right.
right, nothing new under the sun. And thank you for getting my quote
Yeah.
right. Um, and payments processing is a perfect example. I was at a conference, Directions, which is a conference for Microsoft partners that are implementing ERP software. And I was sitting there talking to a woman who owns one of the larger partners, and she was expressing frustration. She's like, "There's all these AP vendors here, and I don't know what makes them different. I haven't the slightest idea what makes company A different than company B. They all say they're different, but they all say the same thing." And that was what Kyle Lacey is pointing out is there's nothing really unique. And I'm in a space, I'm in marketing and LinkedIn. There are tens of thousands of direct competitors. I mean, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of
Well, when
thousands of
COVID happened,
people.
I would imagine your competitors probably tripled in the capacity
Just
of a month.
exploded. And
Yeah,
anybody who's on LinkedIn thinks they're an expert on LinkedIn.
sure.
So, it's like it just exploded. So just like you guys, it's our stories is what differentiates. Is what I teach dramatically different than what other experts on LinkedIn teach? No. But how I link it to what our clients are experiencing and how I link it to their specific business problems, their specific messy middle is what draws specific clients to me. And so you mentioned also Bailey niching, and niching has been extremely important for my business for decades because in the marketing space, by niching down specifically into financial services, technology, and electronic trading, it created a moat around me where it was tougher for competitors to come in and steal business from that moat. Um, Now I don't have that big of I don't have that
Hmm.
protective moat anymore. But I am also a huge believer that a rising tide lifts all boats. So you will see me collaborating with other LinkedIn trainers and other marketing experts and encouraging each other and commenting on their posts and they comment on my posts and we have meetings. I've had many one-on-ones with other specialists in the LinkedIn space where we share lessons learned and help each other out. And I believe that there's no such thing as a limited pie where we're each trying to get our slice and we're fighting for the same slice. I think that as we build visibility for the need for our business, that actually increases the pie. There's no limit to the increase. And so yeah, maybe there is a limit, but it's so big that none of us can possibly eat all of the pie. It's not a risk. Let's just lift it up and lift up. You like how I'm totally mixing up metaphors? Now we've got a pie
I do
and
it
an
too.
ocean and boats and what a
I
mess,
think
right?
that they're good. That they're okay with it, the people listening, because I do it worse than anyone in the. I am
Good.
simile metaphor 8 hours a day. So I think that you're good. I understand exactly what you're saying, and I want to kind of follow up on that question, right? Like, I think that kind of this aha moment that I have been honestly probably incapable of putting into words until we've spent, close to an hour talking to each other is that my customers love me not because of how much I know about my point of sale system or how much I know about my terminal or how much I know about my website or my products or my people. The value to those people is that I've been doing it long enough that I know a lot about your industry most of the time. I know what you experience as a restaurant owner. I know what you experience as a CPA. I know what you experience as a technology broker. Like, I've been there. I've worked with people like you. I've implemented some of this stuff into my own business. So being able to be one, genuine and authentic, and two, relating to you where you are is a huge value that it's been hard for me to um, dictate that, but I think I've understood that for a while. But I wanted to reposition kind of that question to you, which is while we're talking about the value of visibility and credibility online, can you speak a little bit about the value of authenticity? I think that is, and I've used this on the podcast before. I've actually probably used it a lot lately, so I'm sorry if you're like hearing this for the thousandth time. But we're in like this famine of genuine authenticity, especially on the internet. I
Yes.
think that more people are thinking in marketing language than ever, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I think that what people want to do is outline features and benefits and talk about deals and promotions and being less expensive and all of these different things. And I think that there's something to be said for when someone comes to your LinkedIn profile or comes to your website, that there is a feeling of genuine authenticity in how you represent yourself. I think that
Mhm.
that is important, and I don't exactly know how to put my finger on when I do feel it and when I don't, but it's a feeling that I have, and it makes me buy and it makes me not sometimes. So,
Right.
do you
Right.
discuss that, and what, in your words, is the value of authenticity in this digital age?
1,000%. So I'm gonna take two different threads there. Okay. One is that people need to trust you. And if you don't have any content out there, then they don't know anything about you. So I get outreaches from people trying to sell to me every single day. Like I'll probably get 50 pitch slaps in my email and LinkedIn today alone. As a CEO, it just it's the nature of I'm a target.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and 99.99% of them don't don't share any kind of evidence that they care about me in the least. I am strictly a number to them. And so the very few that reach out actually showing an interest in who I am authentically, not just, some AI tool that said, "Hey, I noticed that you are in the business of executive credibility. How does that help your clients? And by the way, we sell payment processing, and I'm sure that will help your
That's actually my next
executive
email to you.
credibility."
Actually, it's in my drafts. Yeah, I'm joking. I'm joking.
But I've actually gotten emails similar to that,
Mm-hmm.
because AI is trying to connect these two very irrelevant things. Um, So the authenticity comes through in actually caring, not pretending like you care. Um, then the second is the visibility. So usually, if I am interested, let's say somebody actually managed to spark my interest. I shared a post about this yesterday, where, somebody's like, "Oh, I'm really interested in what you're doing, and I'd like to take time to pitch my stuff to you." And her profile was blank. Like there was very little on it, and or I'll come across a profile where it's a resume, especially of sellers, of how often they made President's Club.
Mm-hmm.
Which might be great while they're job hunting, but it immediately makes me as a customer feel like a number.
Right.
And they're not sharing anything. So there's no content that makes me think, oh, this is a person that I actually want to have a conversation with, because as a CEO, my time is packed. Like I've gone from one meeting to another meeting to another meeting this morning, and that's most CEOs. And so, if I'm going to have a meeting with you as a seller, I need to have a good reason to do so, because it means that I'm going to carve something else out of my schedule. I'm going to say no to something else in order to say yes to you as a seller. And so I need a good reason to do that. And you pitch slapping me isn't a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that are creating the level of credibility for me to say, oh, yeah, this actually might be a worthwhile thing for me to spend my time in, is your profile, the content that you're sharing on your profile, and your company page, and does that company page give me good reason to say, oh, maybe these guys can help me solve my stupid payments problem of slow payers who they're not intentionally slow paying, they just get distracted. And I
Sure.
know that that's the problem. So, like I need to know that there's a reason for me to have that conversation. And you pitch slapping me about where payments processor isn't going to solve that. It's going to be, and you don't know ahead of time that I have that payments problem. Probably going to get pitch slapped by a whole bunch of AP people now. But but if they took the time to listen to this
I
podcast, I
I
will actually have the conversation.
doubt they listen to our podcast. I doubt
We'll
it.
see.
I
We
doubt
shall
it.
see.
Yeah, I hope
Challenge
so.
to
I
anybody
hope so.
listening. Yeah. Um, but it's like if they demonstrate that they care and say, "Hey, I heard you at this problem. I might be able to help solve it." I'll probably take that call, right? Because now I know that there's like a thread that can be pulled that's going to make it worth my time to have that conversation. But if they come to me and there's nothing on their profile, there's nothing, and I can't, sometimes I can't even find the website because they're obfuscating it so that they don't get picked up in
Sure.
Google's,
Yeah.
spam traps. Um, why would I take the time? And I see that a lot in the way that people sell. There's just no there your credibility comes in so many different places, and if I don't already see that credibility, why would I take the time?
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
It does. No, it makes perfect sense because it's the world that I've lived in for forever, really, honestly. Um I used to say like you can't fake like the genuineness or the authenticity, and I think that maybe that's not true anymore. Like you can fake it. There are things out there to help you fake it, right?
Mhm.
There are things
Mhm.
out there to make your interaction with people like so unique and it feels human even though it's automated. And I think that what I'm realizing now is something that like my mom and dad used to say to me all the time, which is that you will work considerably harder to fake it than you will to just genuinely care about the people that are willing to do business with you.
Exactly.
That's really what I love about it. That's like the put me to sleep at night is to know that no matter what, that at the end of the day, there's going to be a moment where you have to put yourself aside and you have to care about your customer. And
Right.
the culture that we've kind of built here is that we're okay with that and we're okay with losing money, and sometimes it happens and sometimes it sucks for us and sometimes it's out of our control. But at the end of the day, like the most gratifying thing about my industry is that you're kind of helping people really turn their life into this thing that they want it to be. Like a lot of people like dream and aspire to go through that process of owning a business and feeling in control and solving problems and helping other people be empowered by hiring them and all of those other things. Like that's the gratifying part of my job, and that's why I care about those people. And I think I mentioned this earlier. Like, if you're my client, the better your business runs, the easier it is for us to service you and treat you the way that you deserve to be treated by your people that are vendors. But that is what I'm growing to realize is that no matter how good people will get at faking it, at some point that gets pressure tested. And that matters. And when I can come in and say, I understand exactly where you are. I've talked to many people. Here's, the feel, felt, found thing. I understand what you feel, and I understand I've felt the exact same way. And what I've found in working with people that have felt the exact same way is that is that there's hope for you. You know what I mean? I think that that's what is really, really cool about business in general is that we are working with one another, not for one another. Like there is some even online, even on LinkedIn, like we're all feeding this machine. We're all learning from one another. We're putting the content out there in the world for other people to learn from. And I hope that maybe this podcast kind of serves some of that same purpose for other people too. Like, I'm sure our visibility and our credibility have been boosted by having these conversations, but dude, my goal is for other people to be as gratified going through this process for themselves as I have been being put in the shoes to think like an entrepreneur for many, many years. Like I
If
had,
you guys started sharing the stories like that out there publicly in blogs and in LinkedIn, I think you would be surprised at how much it starts to attract an audience. It's going to take time. It's not
sure,
going to be something that happens overnight, but the more you are sharing those authentic stories and getting the answering customer questions, because you guys are having conversations with your prospects every day of the week. And if you, and probably you're recording a lot of them. And if you take those transcripts and we start hunting through those transcripts for what are the questions, what are the pain points, how do they describe the pain? What are their aha moments? What are the objections that they're bringing up? And we start uncovering those, and those become the topics that you write about and you share about, a customer said X. And, here's how we like to address that and talk about the messy middle. And the more you're doing that and you're building in that authenticity because you're demonstrating it. It's like the show not tell, right? So you're demonstrating how much you authentically care about your customers because you're actually bringing their problems forward without, you're not like disclosing any
sure.
confidential information, but you're just talking about, this customer had this problem with payments weren't going through repeatedly, or they had like a bunch of um what do you call it when the client like rejects the payment on the
Yeah,
bank side?
chargebacks or yeah,
Chargebacks, yeah. And our customer had all these chargebacks, and we identified that this is how we can solve this problem. Just like share what it was that they bought because the company name doesn't necessarily match the store that they walked into. And so we reduced chargebacks by 50% because we just solved that one little problem for that client. Like there's so many little messy middle stories that you could be sharing that would be like somebody's going to have an aha moment. Oh crap. So that's how I solved that problem.
mm-hmm.
And there's so many of them. I bet you guys are solving those problems every single day. And it's the nothing new under the sun. It doesn't matter whether it's novel or unique to you. It matters that you're showing not how much you know, but how much you care.
Right. Yeah, the willingness, right? The
Yeah,
time and effort and energy, and the fact that you're not customer number 1 million matters to people. Um,
exactly.
and I think that that's what's kind of brought us together is that I want to learn how to dictate those things for a couple of reasons. Like I think that getting more customers and attracting people in that way is important. But you talk about it a little bit in one of the stories that I read from you, which is like it attracted a lot of the right things for me, but I was well over what my expected initiated workload was going to be due to how much of this stuff that I'm attracting, right? Like I think attracting stuff is important for us, but I think more than anything for me personally is that I want people to know that we care about them. Like
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
people to know that I understand, and I want people to know that I think a very natural thing is to like put your best foot forward, right? Is to like, no, we're great. My business is great. It's like when you ask people how they're doing, they're like, oh, I'm fine. Like I think very, very seriously a lot about opening the curtain to the world about the things that we experience that are difficult in our own business, like
Hmm.
learning how to scale some of these things or put in new products. Like I don't know that maybe those things technically are like super important to those people, but I think it's so authentic to let people know, hey, we're struggling too, and here's what we're going through, and we're trying to fix it, and if you can help, we would love you guys for that even more. So like that meeting people where they are and just letting like I just want to first name basis my business with some of these other people's businesses. Like I want our businesses to be friends. I want you to
Maybe
know that
what
we
we
have
need to
your
do is maybe we need to replace the word authenticity with genuineness.
I think genuineness is the better word. I use authenticity because a lot of other people, um, but authentic. I think genuineness is a better word because I think it can be good and bad. Right. I think me giving you bad news and doing it genuinely is so important. I
And
think when
genuinely caring that
yes,
I
like
know this bad news sucks. Let's figure out a way to unsuckify
100%. And
it.
it matters so much. Like, hey, I'm not trying to retain you as a client. I'm not like putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound and buying myself more time to figure your stuff out. Like, I want to figure it out. That matters to me. I genuinely want to be an asset to what you have going on, because other people have given that to me. Like the owners of my company, most genuine people I've ever met in my life, and I'm very fortunate for that because they've helped me go from 19-year-old thinks he knows it all, knows nothing, to like 10 years in, I've aggregated a bunch of skills and experiences that I could never pay them back for, right? And
Mhm.
that's their willingness to let me fail and learn and represent who I am deep down to some of the people that want to work with me. And so I look forward to opening that door for the rest of the people in my organization and for my business. If some people have listened and have some of those aha moments and they want to chat with you, where do they find you?
Oh, find me at on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Candice Edelen. I'm pretty easy to find there. Although I did come across another Candice Edelen. I was shocked. So she and I are like chatting on
Really?
LinkedIn
Is
right
she
now.
American?
She is. She
Wow.
is. Oh, wait, no, nope. I think she's Canadian, actually. Now
Oh,
that I think
close
about it.
enough. Fair.
But
North American.
I'm pretty sure we're related. So
Yeah.
we're having some fun chatting back and forth. But Candice Edelen with a Y in my Candice. And then you can also find me at propelgrowth.com. And if you send me a message on LinkedIn, I tell you I'm going to respond to you. I'm not, you're not just like a number to me. I care about you and I would love to hear from you. So reach out to me on LinkedIn and let's chat.
Yeah, and at the very least, if you connect with Candace, support some of the content. I think that some of the content that you put out there is really cool. And like I said, that's mostly limited to like finding blog posts and things like that, like longer form stuff. Because I am one of those people that is guilty of neglecting LinkedIn because I get recruited like a
Mm.
monster. Not because I'm like so awesome, but because I'm in like the credit card processing mecca of the world. Like 3 of the 5 biggest payment processing companies in the world are like 20 minutes from me.
Oh,
So
wow.
I get crazy inundated with come work for my payments company. And I am seriously looking forward, like I said, to that conversation in the new year of being able to represent who we are. That matters to me. I really don't. I will be surprised if we get one client from it because that is genuinely not my expectation. I just want to represent who we are because finding a way to represent who we are has been a difficult thing for people that are, a little social media shy or busy, right? Like
Yeah.
that's normal things. But thank you guys for listening. If you've listened, if you made it this far, please like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments more people that you want us to talk to. You guys are great. I couldn't continue to do this without the guests. Thank you again very much. And for you
Thank
guys
you.
that are listening, you guys really make you're the wind in our sails of the ships that we're about to burn. So, all right, until next time, burn the ship.